you hear me? Yo, see if my camera works. No. So what the Hello? OG, can you hear me? Okay, cool. You can't see me. Um, it says we're supposed to be live. I can't see nobody. If I take this out, so nothing. I can't see myself. can't see nothing. That's crazy.
Shit. Okay. Cool.
There you go. Oh shit. Eric, what's going on, man? Can you hear me?
Everything's set up.
Can you hear me? Hello, hello. Hello? All right. Hey, Eric, can you hear me? Hello? Why is it not working? Can you
Hey,
hear
what's
me?
going on, man? Can you hear me?
Well, yeah, I can hear you. I don't know. I was trying to go live. It didn't work out. So I'm on my phone now. I do apologize. Let's see if we can bring other. Wally, we live, we bike.
Oh, is his internet up?
Let me check. Let me message him. Yeah, man. I was trying to do a simulcast, but I guess it didn't work out. So it is what it is. But
You were
appreciate
trying.
you for coming through.
Yeah, man. Of course, you were trying to simulcast to Spaces.
Spaces and Twitter, YouTube, all that stuff.
Yeah, that's all right, man. You can just chill out over here.
Yeah. Oh, now he can't hear us. Oh man. Well, I mean, we can kind of get started while we kind of
Yeah,
figure it out. Appreciate you for coming through, man. Oh, let me see. Yeah, there you go. So, give a little bit about yourself, man. What do you
yeah,
do at Five Reasons?
yeah. So I do a lot of different things over at the network. I do pregame and postgame during the season. Uh,
Ah,
I'm on Postal Fins Nation with Lewis on Tuesdays. I do Marlin stuff for the network. I do Prize Picks, the Prop Five, bro. I'm like Jalen Ramsey on the defense, bro. I'm versatile. I got versatility.
yeah. So you're a Marlins fan, Heat fan, and the Miami Dolphins fans. How
Yep.
are the Marlins doing? I'm hearing bad things, man. I heard we lost today.
Bro, listen, they're about to be 1-10. It's it
Oh
is it
God.
is what it is. It is what it is. That's you know it's but the draft is coming up. That's what I'm focused on.
Yes,
That's what I'm
yes.
focused on right now.
And so appreciate you for coming by. That's Chad. Chad, what's going on, man? And
Everyone's
Wally's out there trying to figure it out. Like I did. It looks like we
Yeah,
can't go.
man. The playback was giving me a little issues, but we're here now. We're good.
Yes,
Appreciate you
yes,
joining us,
yes,
Eric.
absolutely, man. Pleasure to be here.
yes. Officially, we're here. Inside Leverage Show. Want to give everyone news and updates. Kind of get our thoughts on it. Um, we haven't even talked about it. The signing of Tahir Tart. I don't know if I said his first name correctly. Um, we'll start off with you, Eric. What are your thoughts overall on that signing? It's the nose tackle we're looking to. That nose tackle one tech. What are your overall thoughts on that signing?
Yeah, I mean it's just adding more competition to that defensive line room right now. They've made a lot of these kinds of signings with Tart. Benito Jones was another guy that they're bringing in to kind of be that nose. There's just I think what they're going to try to do on the line is they're going to replace the quality in Wilkins with a lot of quantity. Baltimore was super multiple. They were subbing guys in and out along the line last year like crazy. So I think we're going to see a lot of that in Miami. Maybe not, the snap counts being the same between guys on the defensive line and kind of just use as many bodies as you can, keep guys fresh. I think that's going to be kind of the approach. And I agree with that if you can't get like a Wilkins kind of player.
And Chad, what's your thoughts on it? I kind of see what they're doing as far like what do you think as far as what it does to the defense wise, in your opinion, with this signing of Tart?
Well, I think it further bolsters that defensive rotation up front. A lot of people have been alluding to the fact that Weaver's going to be heavy rotation. We also know that you can't replace a Christian Wilkins 1-for-1, so it's going to be a collective effort to try to get some of that you lost back as far as the pass rush and on the run defense side. You're probably not going to get one guy who's awesome at both. So if you can get some guys who are good at some different things, then on certain downs you can have packages and alignments that favor certain guys. So I think they're just loading up in that regard and putting themselves in position if they needed to add something else in early rounds of the draft, they could do so, but they don't necessarily have to either. So I think it's they put themselves in a place where they can at least be somewhat comfortable with the depth at that position.
I do agree, and I think it also helps kind of free up Sealer or whoever's on that opposite side to get that one-on-one. He seems like a guy that fills up space and will definitely be a run game. There's a tweet I saw on his header on his tweet. It says, I think it was saying love conquers all, and then it says stop the run. So he's the type of guy that wants to make sure that run, stop the run first and be that hole clogger. There's some news as far as so far the 30 visit. Kind of wanted to kind of get in touch, talk to you guys about that. A lot of different players coming in. Who are the guys you've heard, and what are your opinions about some of the guys you like? What are some of the guys you're interested in the draft overall? In your opinion?
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to the visits, it seems like the Dolphins are inviting a lot of guys that are projected to go kind of in that 4th, 5th, 6th round kind of range to this point. I haven't seen a ton of visits with players that would be kind of in that 1st or 2nd round range. There was one recently with somebody, but I know that they've got Christian Boyd, a defensive tackle out of Northern Iowa, Eric Gall, tight end out of Iowa. Those are guys that are more likely going to be later round picks to this point. So I haven't seen a ton inside of that. That really piques my interest. I saw that they had a running back in, and I'm that kind of confuses me because I'm looking at that situation and I'm just like, man, of all the positions you could go with in this draft, and I'll never get on them for drafting any position after a certain point. If you're in 6th or 7th round, I don't really care what position you're drafting. But I don't know. They haven't really. I haven't seen a player yet that makes me kind of raise my eyebrows and go, oh, and maybe that's their plan. But I haven't seen too much yet that really kind of gives away what direction they want to go in. I thought it was interesting that they looked at the running back, and I mean, apparently he's got crazy numbers and he's fast. They had him over 22 miles per hour during the season last year, but it doesn't feel like a position of need to me. But I mean, they don't really care about drafting for need, I don't think. They're more about the best player available, and if he's there and that's who they decide, I'm all good with it. But aside from that, it's been a lot of like under the radar kind of players being invited in so far.
And well, appreciate you for coming through. I know you had a struggle like I did, man. That I don't know what's going on with playback, but Eric just alluded to about the running back visit. In your opinion, I see it like this: eventually, you're gonna have to replace Mostert down the line, so you kind of want to maybe look into somebody maybe in the later rounds undrafted. I think they have success or shown success in guys that they selected. So, Wally, in your opinion, how do you feel about the running back? What's his name again, Eric? My bad.
Let me get it.
Marsheen Ali from
Ali,
Marshall.
yeah, from
First of
Marshall.
all, hey, first of all, Eric, thank you for your time. Sorry, I had issues with this playback. It's a new app, man. We're trying to work out the kinks, but he's a perfect guy. He's a perfect like if you see their approach, they're looking for guys that might get drafted, might not get drafted, might be there in the fifth, might be there in the latter part of the draft, in my opinion. And it's not going to be really hard to replace a Jeff Wilson of a Savon Ahmed. So those guys, the ceiling is a whole lot higher. I think a guy like Frank Gore Jr. might go undrafted. People have called me crazy, but I think he's going to go undrafted, and he's a perfect guy for this system. Guys like that. That's what I see. That's my vision in this team. Maybe our names might not like match, but that's the type of value. Ali is amazing. The North Dakota kid, North Dakota State kid with the Vidal. What's his name, Chad?
Vidal, Kamani Vidal.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm high on him too. He's another guy who's kind of in that later round type. I think there's a lot of talent there. There's got Isaiah Davis from South Dakota State, Ali we talked about. I'm not sure what Jalen Wright from Tennessee will go now that he ran really well at the combine. He might be more so maybe early day three type, but there's some guys that they could take a shot on that have some interesting, mix of athletic ability, even like a Dylan Lobb from New Hampshire, I want to say. Dylan Lobb is from. He kind of has that ability to kind of give you something as a pass rusher, not pass rusher, a pass receiver, and then even on special teams. So there's some guys that they could take a look at later on that they could try to just throw into the fold to see if they can get something there. But I don't think it's going to be a position that's going to be highly sought after in the draft. So I figured that's where they'd be looking. It's kind of in that towards the undrafted type of guys.
Guys, I was trying to see if I can connect to the playback on Twitter, kind of play some videos, but it's not working for me. So I kind of missed what you guys were talking about. You were talking about a little bit of selecting guys in the
just about the running back options that they could possibly be looking into, some later round guys and stuff like that, but nothing major there. I think that the Dolphins are doing a good job of keeping us guessing and trying to keep everybody else guessing because they're in the position where they could pretty much go O-line, they can go edge rusher. If the right wide receiver was there, they could possibly even do that. Like defensive tackle, I think is still on the board. So I mean, it could go in a variety of different directions for them, and I think they're just probably trying to do due diligence on guys they haven't been able to get a lot of info and intel on. So maybe that's why we're seeing more so the day three guys opposed to the guys that they're more sought after, like the guys that they probably want to go after. They probably have already met with at the Senior Bowl or done some type of research, that we're not necessarily privy to. So.
Most definitely, and it's all part of not trying to show your hand because I feel like over the past few drafts we have shown interest in certain guys, and then what happens? A team before us or a team jumps over ahead of us to draft that player. It sucks, man. So you
the
kind of
Baltimore Ravens and the Steelers will do it to you every damn time.
every
Especially the
time,
Ravens,
man,
they did it to us so many times.
Jeez, man, it's crazy. But I like that we're showing our hand that we're open to a lot of different positions. We're not showing that we need a lot of positions, even though they probably might covet some priority positions. In your opinion, Eric, what do you think is I'll give it top 5 priority list of players you're looking for them to draft?
So if I'm going with I can go positions, players, both, but if I'm creating like a wish list, number one the player that I want most in this draft, probably not falling to Miami. I want Brian Thomas Jr. as wide receiver 3. I need it. I need it. He's number 1. Graham Barton is probably number 2. A guy along the offensive line that can legit play all 5 positions and do it well. Number 3, I really like Johnny Newton, the defensive lineman out of Illinois. If you wanted to go that kind of, let's go ahead and get a replacement for Christian Wilkins' spot. And then players that you look at maybe at 55. I really like Xavier Leggett there, or Malachi Corley if you're going wide receivers. As a Miami Hurricanes fan, I know that the testing was terrible, but I saw Cam Kinchins. Cam can play. He's coming off of an injury. I don't care what that testing looks like. That man, he can play. And then aside from that, if you're looking in the second round for an offensive lineman, I would take Christian Haynes out of UConn in the second round if that's the position that you're going with. So that's my wish list of players for the Dolphins in this draft. Come out with 2 or 3 of those guys, and I'm good.
I'm just saying my guru takes, they're all alive. My guru takes, listen, Eric, you might not know this, but I'm a guru. I've been doing this for a while, but I just got my guru title certified by hey, listen, the certifications are there. You seen it.
I believe it.
Some people said I got it in the flea market. You know what I mean? Some people said I got it in the swap shop, but word to the professionals that played in the league. I've been certified, but yo, Chris Haynes, amazing dog, a lot of dog. I love that's a great pick, man. And for overall everything you said, not for nothing, but Chad Mechanic, like us as a whole, we're like, yeah. I love to see like people are like we might not be in the same thoughts exactly, but we're in the same wavelength, and it's great to see that. We see the vision that the team might want to see as well, and it's great, man. Because all of us have Brian Thomas, we have Leggett, we have Barton, we have the order might be different, but we always end up with the same guys. This is the first time as a Dolphin fan, and I love to see it, bro.
Yeah, I think the obvious and easy answer for a lot of fans that we've had a lot of deficiencies on the O-line, so everyone's like tackle, or get that interior solidified, which I'm not necessarily 100% against. I think Graham Barton is a great option. Cooper Beebe, maybe even in the second round, possibly could be another great option. You talked about Haynes, Mahogany. I think there's Jordan Morgan, Javon Foster, just Roger Rosegarten. There's so many guys for me like that can be had at 55, and possibly if you needed to get up into the mid rounds to take that. I don't think you have to take one at 21. There's just so many guys that I think could come in and help us out, whether it be the heir to Tehran or the plug in at guard. So, I mean, if I can get 2 impact premier talents at whatever position, I'm fine. But if a Brian Thomas Jr. or something like that, I mean, that'd be so picture perfect, man. So picture perfect. But we'll see how it goes. I think they're in a position where they could take a Johnny Newton still, and it won't necessarily be overkill because I think he does have some ability to maybe kick outs at, I don't know if he can play 5 tech, but maybe at least 4-eye. You know what I mean? I think he can, move around the line a little bit enough that you can still get him in the fold and keep him in the fold even when Jalen Phillips and those guys come back. That's my worry about going edge rusher because once Phillips and Chubb are back, then that guy kind of hits a little bit of the back seat, but it could be a play for the future and to keep them healthy and throughout the season. So, and it's never bad to have a good rotation. We've seen what the Giants did back in the day with Umanora and all the guys that they had on that line. That's one of the poster boards for that defensive line rotation. So it's never a bad thing necessarily. The Ravens did a good job with it last year. So,
yo, what are your thoughts on the injured running back from Texas? I'm not too familiar with his game. I saw a few highlights. And I saw people say prior to his injury, he could have been the best running back in the draft, per se. I seen the highlights. They're not lying. Like, if you're high on Xavier, on Worthy, and then the other receiver and Sanders are tied in, this kid flashes. The injuries are concerned. But that's the guy you can have in the 5th round for cheap, and you end up with a starter, given the injury. And I mean, if he's the best running back, quote unquote, before injuries, there has to be a high ceiling if you get him in the 5th round.
I think he's more of a 3rd rounder. I don't know if he goes that late.
Exactly.
What are your thoughts, Eric? What are your thoughts on Brooks?
It's funny because I see like every time I look for things on Brooks, I see Cowboys fans basically already putting him in a Cowboys jersey. And so I do think ultimately it's going to be a situation where he might get taken before the Dolphins even really get a chance there. Because you're right, if he wasn't hurt, he would be RB1 in this class, and it wouldn't be particularly close. I don't think. But I also just think, given where you would have to take him, it's probably not going to be a fit for the Dolphins. Especially when you look at, because the two guys that they brought in for visits in the 30 visits as running backs is Garendo out of Louisville and Ali out of Marshall. So they're looking at guys that they're getting 6th, 7th round, if anything. But I'm super comfortable with the running back room. Like I love Chris Brooks as a project for the future. To kind of be that guy on 3rd and 4th and short. But I'm super comfortable with where they're at with Achane, with Mostert. But I know the Niners, when McDaniel was there, and they still do it, they'll take an undrafted running back every year. They'll sign somebody after the draft and see if they hit on something. So is it out of the realm of possibility? No. But with Brooks, I think he's just going to be gone before Miami has a chance to do anything about it.
My only issue with the running back room is I think Achane and Mostert had a great season last year. I think they were extremely productive. There's some injury concerns and usage concerns, particularly on the usage side, where you didn't even really get Jeff Wilson and Brooks involved last year, especially once Brooks returned from IR. He was basically an afterthought. He came in, he fumbled, and he was a ghost from there. Jeff Wilson, he never really got an opportunity to contribute, and there was still a need for a little bit of power in that area. So, I mean, I don't know what they're going to do, if they're going to use Brooks, if they're going to use Jeff Wilson and give them the opportunities, because I don't think that Mostert and Achane can survive up the middle, all halfback guys. I don't think that's their strength. So
if they're not, who's still out there? Donta Foreman. That's if you're looking, if you want a cheap running back that can be that bruiser up the middle and get you those tough yards. I've wanted Donta Foreman since the beginning of the offseason, just because I knew they were never going to be competitive on Derrick Henry. They weren't, it wasn't really going to happen, especially once you saw the money that Henry got from Baltimore. But Donta Foreman would be a good option. And then the interesting thing is, though, you look at the type of running backs that they brought in for their 30 visits. It's not a bruiser. It looks more like a potential Mostert replacement, if anything, for down the line, which is interesting to me, because I would have thought that they would have put some priority on getting a bruiser, but I don't know if they really even value that kind of running back at this point.
Do you think there's a running back based on those visits and running backs that can do a little both inside and outside zone? Because I think essentially that's what's kind of missing. We run a lot of outside zone. It felt like we didn't run enough of inside zone, and despite that, when we did run it, we ran pretty good for the most part. So, is there a running back out there so far that we've acquired that can do both, in your opinion?
I mean, to his credit, Mostert, like the numbers will tell you, Mostert is good between the tackles. The problem with it is, man, I don't know if it was a matter of the offensive line falling apart on the interior or the running backs not being able to run up the middle. And it sucks that we couldn't really get to see that with them healthy later in the season. I don't think that guy's on their roster currently. Like I said, I want to see more of Brooks. I thought because I was at the Panthers game when he got hurt, and he was like, granted, fourth quarter in a blowout, but he started ripping off 6-7 yards at a time. Exactly. If it was both, they're both trash. Exactly. So that's the thing. You got to fix the interior and get a running back that can do both. So I mean,
I just don't know if it's realistic that we get that running back, though. To be honest, like to your point, it seems like they kind of want to reinforce what they do well, as opposed to trying to change their identity. So we probably don't get that guy. Someone that could be interesting, I think, later on could be a Tracy Porter from Purdue. He has that kind of wide receiver, running back background, similar to Mostert. I think maybe he's a guy that could potentially look at as well on later on in the draft. There's some interesting guys that they could possibly take a shot. We brought up Gore and things like that. So I think something like that is probably the best bet as far as adding some talent. But
what do you think?
If Corley's the guy in the second round, then you're addressing two positions. Really. Right?
He can give you something as a running back as well, right? So that's an interesting name.
The vision. That's versatility. I like that. I like that. I ain't gonna lie to you. But look, man, Freeman is out there. Freeman is you get that for pennies and a dollar. So I think that's a move there. Also, people, I saw somebody OG mention in the comment section. He talked about Braylon Allen, the Wisconsin kid. I'm very, very skeptical on when you're the quote unquote bruiser running back in college, because every time you get labeled as such, in my history, they never ever pan out to be bruisers in the league. You're muted, but though.
It's rare. That's what I was gonna say.
It's very rare. Like, we thought Cedric Benson was gonna be a bruiser. He was never that guy. Like, you always find nobody thought Marion Barber was gonna be who he was, and he ended up being who he was. So Braylon Allen I'm very, very skeptical over those muscular tough guys, the gym rats, when it comes to that. So I'm not a fan of them. But if we take them, I trust the coaching staff to get the best out of them for sure.
Most certainly. Look, sorry. It seems like someone's tardy to the party. French, the Don, the Mr. Steel Takes. Mr. Steel Takes. What's going on, my friend? How you doing?
Mr. Steal Your Take.
Mr. Steal Your Takes. What's going on, friend?
Gentlemen, just like some of these free agents had to wait to get my free agent money, and now that I signed my deal with my team and my club, I am back with the Fab Five, gentlemen. Hope everybody's doing well. Hope everybody's doing well today.
Yes, sir, French. What's going on?
Back in the booth, like Tart. Trying to see what Chris Greer's going to do with some of these draft moves, man. I know a lot of us have been thinking wide receiver, but, man, the more I think about it, I'm back on that D tackle bandwagon.
Why so, French? Why do you feel it's necessary to get one of those two in the first round, or at least in the first two?
Well, I'm still on the mantra of trench warfare. Everything is going to come down to the trenches, whether it's the offensive line, the defensive line. We've thrown bodies at that tackle position, 6 or 7 positions, but having some young, cheap labor, especially going into next year, is something that we got to look at doing. Specifically with, the loss of Christian Wilkins, you want to get a younger guy in there. So maybe if we get, I'm not heavily pressed about the defensive tackle. I'd honestly be interested in another defensive end because, like they say, you can never have enough pass rushers. And if you could get a defensive end at 20 with that first pick, and then get a BB at guard with that second pick, that solidifies the trenches. That way, when you go into December, January, whether we're on the road to Buffalo or the road to Kansas, or they coming to us, we have the infrastructure we need to be successful.
So is it a pass rusher? Is it defensive tackle?
Well, I'm a lean with pass rusher. I'm going to go defensive end.
We casting a white net again.
My only pushback on the pass rusher at 21 is this, right? Like, okay, yeah, you can get a guy that could potentially come in and be the long-term pairing with Jalen Phillips. If you can get like a Latu or one of the better guys in the draft, you can make something like that happen, right? But if you could go out and snag a Yannick Ngukwe, Tyus Bowser, something like that. I think they could immediately plug in as that third or fourth pass rusher without you having to do that at necessarily 21. Because at 21, I want that guy to get opportunities, and I just don't want him to be limited in his opportunities. If you get a Darius Robinson or something like that on the edge, I think he has enough versatility where he can give you something defensive tackle and edge rusher. So maybe that kind of can check both boxes with somebody like that. Johnny Newton, we talked about, I think he can move around some. So I think there are some guys who could provide that versatility. I just don't know if necessarily a Jared Verse or, I mean, I wouldn't be mad, but
one of the
Latu.
things I'm looking at with that
Don't say
scenario
Latu.
is
Don't say
if
Latu.
you get your
I mean, no, I think Latu is good enough for me to be like, all right, that's cool. I ain't mad at it. Like, regardless, I think it's good enough for you to figure it out.
One of the things I'm thinking with that scenario is you get you a defensive end, not a wide net, Wally. I'm fishing with a pole. I'm fishing right off the edge of Biscayne Bay. What I'm thinking about is you can slow bait Jalen Phillips and Bradley Chubb, and those two guys split time. Whether you got you a young bull on that one end, and whenever those guys get ready to come in, you still have those guys on a pitch count with each other, where you're still getting the best reps.
There you go, stealing takes again.
Oh my goodness!
There you go, stealing takes again, my boy.
Eric, what I will say is they treat.
I apologize, Eric.
What I will say, Eric,
you're good. Hey, bro, you're good.
Eric, Eric. Some of us on the show treated Zach Sealer like this last year. Now look at what we're at.
Word for word, bar for bar. You stole my take.
Well, I do think that it goes well into my next segue, which is important because what Chad said. It talks about those guys after the draft, and looking at some of what Chad tweeted, and then I talked about, and I thought about it before as well. The Titus Bowers, the Carl Lawsons, as far as the
Carlos Dunlap,
those Ngakwe,
Calais Campbell,
yeah.
So if he still wants to play, right?
Yeah, you know what I'm saying. There's
not
some
everybody
guys
wants
out
Calais.
there. Well, here we go.
I remember when I staked my field about Calais Campbell, and they almost kicked me off the show.
I don't think nobody.
No, you're telling straight lies.
I don't think anybody disagreed.
But I just think that, listen, like, if you go pass rusher, I'm not mad at it, but I don't think we have to do anything in particular. But if they were to go in that direction, I think you could definitely make a case for it. I've seen Latu even line up over on the inside. Like, I think there's enough like talent there for a guy like that where you could figure out some unique pass rush packages like we used to see with Flo back in the day, where some speed packages and things like that. So I think Weaver will be, giving guys the opportunity to get home to the passer.
Let me ask
Eric, things like that. So Eric, what he wanted to say something. Go ahead, Eric.
You let Eric say something?
Nah, man. All I'm about to say is just listen. No defensive coordinator in his right mind is going to say, I have too many edge rushers. There's too many. I can't do anything with it. Like that's the thing. Look at where Mike McDaniel came from in San Francisco. It feels like for the last decade they've done nothing but draft pass rushers in the first round. Mike McDaniel last year, what was it he said? He said something in the press conference. I like, if you could draft an edge rusher every year, I would in the first round. Not to say that for this team right now, it's option number one at the very tip top, maybe not. But if they come out of this draft and something crazy happens, somebody falls, I've seen some simulators that have Dallas Turner fall into 21. But I don't think that's gonna happen now, but I wouldn't be mad at a Leatu Latu. I wouldn't be mad at Jared Verse even, really. It's just one of those things where the best teams, like, I don't see a third pass rusher as being somebody who's going to have diminished playing time.
Thank you.
Because I'm looking at it as a matter of snap count. Like, along the defensive line, guys don't need to play every snap like that. you're looking at, and it's going to be a really good opportunity to get to have less of a workload on Bradley Chubb, on Jalen Phillips as the season progresses, because those guys played a ton of snaps prior to injury last year, and that's a lot of people are saying that might be a factor in some of their injury over time. But
Let me ask you this question, Eric.
You let that man finish his thought, man.
No, you're good. You're good.
We've talked on the show about the trenches. Is there such thing as overkill? Because I get pushback from the squad about overkill when I talk about defensive tackle, defensive end, guard, center, kind of doubling up, because historically you've seen what's happened to this team. So if historically this has happened for 20 years, if historically I've ran out of food, is there such thing as being a one of those, those storage people that just hoard groceries? Is there such thing as hoarding trenches? Too many trenches?
Wow.
I mean, listen.
He's leading. That's a very leading question, by the way.
Oh, now I'm leading.
Yeah, you're leading the witness.
On the interior, there absolutely is a thing. I don't need the Dolphins drafting guard every year in the first round. But there are some positions on the offensive line and the defensive line you could just have as many as you want. If you want to draft an edge rusher every year, fine. You want to draft an offensive tackle every year, as long as you don't have like Tristan Wirfs at that position, because you can convert those guys to the interior part of the line. I wouldn't take an interior lineman unless you're talking about a guy like Martin in the first round. Like, I'm cool with taking tackles and converting those guys to the interior. That's just an easier transition. But yeah, tackles and edge rushers, yes. Interior linemen, guards, centers, defensive tackles, probably, yeah, you can't have too many of those guys, honestly.
Eric, look,
thank you.
Was this stuff? Don't let French slide.
You're trying to push narratives.
Yeah, we've had extensive, we spent extensive amount of time doing research of players and stuff like that. We've come across players like Austin Booker, Gabe Hall, Brandon Fisk, a lot of players that fit the thing, fit the mold that we could take. And we've all had mock drafts that say, look, Jalen Phillips and Bradley Chubb are gone. Might miss time. You don't know. It's a big question mark. So a guy like we mocked plenty of drafts with a guy like Latu, and Latu he's been rising up the chart because he was at the back of the back. But not, like I said, once he starts testing, he's gonna jump up the draft. And a guy like Jared Verse, another one, he jumped up. He could play two positions. But Robinson, we've had mock drafts that said, look, how would you feel if you take a guy like Latu and get back a guy like Sweat or Richardson or Robinson in the second round? How would you feel about that? And now French comes over here and said if it's overkill. You crazy?
Yeah, and again, in the second round, there are guys like Braylon Trice, Jonah Ellis. Like there's some good guys who I think can still help you out. You talk about Austin Booker. I think there were some words about maybe the Dolphins meeting with him or talking with him or something. I'm not sure how far that went, but there's some guys who I think could come in and give you some of that throughout the draft. They're not as good as Latu and First Chop Robinson and some of these other guys, but I still think they can come in and contribute. Braylon Trice, he had a ton of pressures on that Washington defensive line last year. There's even the guy that played on the other side of Latu, Gabriel Murphy, I want to say. There's another one from Washington as well. I forgot. It's a very complex name. But some guys who can come in and contribute as a third and fourth pass rusher. You do have Shaquille Barrett as well that we have already brought in. I think he can alleviate some of that concern as well. So I think we're in a good position, like we said earlier, that if we did want to do something like that, you could, but you're not necessarily left with a glaring hole there either. So, I mean, I'm for it. I'm for it. It just has to be preferably a great, great player. I don't necessarily love Jared Verse, honestly. Chop and Dallas, hey, let's go.
I can feel that. Honestly, I think if I were to pick one player and like if they got into the third or fourth round probably the third because he probably won't be there by the fourth. But like, if somehow they got themselves a third round pick, say somewhere 85 to 90, and Marshawn Kneeland is on the board as an edge rusher, I think that's probably like that would be my ideal way to address that because I'd prefer not to take it in the first 2 rounds. But
hold on, is Austin Booker off the board or is he there on the board? Because I think Austin Booker is the best pass rusher in the draft. Period. Like,
well, I don't know why you love Austin Booker so much, but he is talented. But I like Marshawn Kneeland. That kid. Hey, I know he's a Western Michigan kid, but he's got some go. He's got some go.
Tell me who has a crazier bend than Austin Booker. Like that bend is insane. It's Michael Strahan type. He be and he can play the run, and he can cover running backs, and he can cover tight ends.
I don't know about that.
You seen the tape? No, man.
He cool.
He just went to Kansas. Cool. That's the problem.
I honestly like Muhammad Kamara out of Colorado State. I like him. That's my guy.
He nice.
Like that's my guy. He's a little undersized, but I think the production it speaks for itself.
So Eric, who's your you mentioned a homie right now. Who's your whatever spot? If you're the Dolphins right now, no matter what are you doing at 21?
Oh, my number one, like it's Brian Thomas Jr. and then everyone else below that. Because my thing is there's certain positions that you get more value out of right away. Like, and I'm not listen. We can talk about LSU receivers drafted at 21 if we want to. I'm not about to go there. But if you were to add a receiver of that caliber to this offense, things could happen. That's all I'm gonna say. I'm not calling anybody Justin Jefferson. But
I mean, can you imagine, Eric, with not only with 3 receivers, but then you got a tight end that can be productive and can give you more than what we've previously had. Like, imagine that, bro. Adding 4 weapons to help the offense in the passing game. So I agree. We all agree. That's the guy we wanted. A receiver, period, is a guy we wanted at 21. So, and it helps for the future too, because like we all say, Tyreek is not going to be here that long, and who knows? Depending on how Brian Thomas excels in this offense, you got to re-sign Waddle soon. So who's going to be your number 2 when all that? You know what I'm saying? So we agree, definitely. Guys, any last thoughts before we head out? Again, Eric, thank you so much for taking the time to hang out with us. Sorry,
I appreciate Eric coming through and furthering the Brian Thomas agenda, man. You've been awesome for that. Thank you.
Yeah, but any last thoughts from everybody before we head out?
Man, I know Eric got to go, man. So let Eric, what I mean? He see how to dip in 5 seconds. So if Eric has any final thoughts, we'll wrap it up after that and stuff like that. But go ahead, Eric, if you have any final thoughts.
Nah, man. I just want to thank y'all for having me on. It's been a lot of fun, talking about the draft upcoming. The Dolphins haven't done like barely any visits, so they still have a few to do. I'm sure we'll get more news on that as the draft gets closer. It's gonna be a fun draft season, fun off season. I appreciate you guys inviting me to do this. Maybe there'll be more in the future. So I appreciate y'all. Thanks so much.
All right, my brother.
Most definitely, bro. Yes, sir.
Yes, appreciate you, Eric.
Absolutely.
Yes, sir, Eric. Appreciate you, man.
Yeah, man. My final thoughts are this, man. French steals a lot of takes.
That's all he does.
But I just want to say that if the Dolphins were to go at any direction, I just hope that we can get impact players who can get on the field and contribute, not necessarily from day one, but in year one in some capacity, that they can be solidify whatever areas of the team and just come in and contribute. It should be Brian Thomas Jr. if he's available, 1,000% in my opinion. But if they go in a different direction, I'm flexible. Pause.
What I will say to this is, I've been accused of stealing takes. Zach Sealer's been accused of stealing Christian Wilkins' money, but what I will say, like Zach Sealer, your production is going to determine what you eat when you're in this league. And I'm just interested to see what the organization does. I had some of my comrades tell me, maybe BB with that second pick could be an option. He's had experience at left tackle, so we'll see if he's left tackle with the Dolphins. But
Wow.
we'll see. We'll see what happens and what transpired. As we go into the week, please follow me on Twitter. I will be
Oh
alluding
my
to a few
God,
things,
bro. Yo,
and we'll see.
yeah, bro, just cut it out. Cut it out. Cut it out.
Hey,
Cut it out. Let Eric go. Let go, Eric. Eric, you have a good evening, man. We got some stuff to talk about with friends. We got some stuff to talk about with, like, what is wrong with you, friends? What are you doing? Like,
Eric, they're trying to debate BB at left tackle, and I'm not buying
oh
it.
my God, bro, stop. Leave that man alone. Let that man go home. Like, you wilding with your lies, bro.
like, okay,
Eric, thank you so much, bro.
any more French before?
No, don't let French do no more takes. That's it. Cut
Yeah,
the
man. Let's wrap this up, man.
Cut the show
Hopefully
off,
the Finns
man.
can maybe get a little more news in here because the lull for the next 2 weeks with the draft. I don't know how long I can talk about what we're gonna do at 21.
Right, or talk more about French telling pies.
BB
So,
or whatever BB or that man.
55. Listen.
So everybody have a great day.
Fins for the win.
Fins for the win. French, if you can, please stop with the lies, man.
Man, stop stealing takes, man.
Hey, Cooper baby.
Cooper baby
has played tackle, but he will be a guard in the NFL. French, we can all agree on that.
Yeah,
exactly.
Like,
we can all agree.
Bro, he asked about. Listen, he asked the wide receiver guru about a running back. French don't know what.
All right, let French get to his barista. His coffee is waiting. So you guys, Fins up.
Brian Thomas Jr. at 21.